that's what's so interesting about gaming is because everybody hides behind an avatar, right? And it's that kind of anonymity that if you think, somebody is really 15, they're probably not.
And when you talk about the avatars and the anonymity provided with that, the same thing with Snapchat. That's why a lot of the predation happens there, because if you're a child and you're communicating with an adult that shows their real picture, you're going to be a little more guarded. But because they make them look like a cartoon, it's like they trust them. And then you have Snapchat saying, this is your friend. You know this person. And so that's just a recipe for predation.
What's really crazy about that whole thing is that how do they determine who your suggested friends should be, right?
We don't quite know.
Yeah.
It's not just mutual friends, although that is a part of it. But your friend could be adding thousands of people because they give you points on how many people you add and how much you interact. So they encourage you to add as many people as possible. And one of those people could be a drug dealer or a predator. And then now they're going to suggest that person to all of that child's friends, because these kids are also encouraged to add all of their contacts from their phone. Over and over, they're pushed to do that. And so why is a social media app need access to all of a child's contacts? Oh, that's a bunch more children. It's a bad app. And I'm glad to hear that GameSafe is going to be available for Snapchat. But let's back up a little bit. And I want to welcome people. So welcome to Scrolling to Death. I'm so excited to have David Everitt with me today. You are the founder and CEO of GameSafe, which you're going to tell us about today, an AI technology that can protect kids while they game and much else online, which we'll get into. And so welcome, David. Thank you for being here.
I appreciate being here.
Yeah. So we met in person and presented together on a panel at the Nkosi Global Summit in DC. And I heard your name or GameSafe mentioned multiple times after your presentation. People are just blown away by your solution and your story. So I couldn't wait to have you on. And I wonder if you can just start by telling listeners, because you have quite a relatable and sensitive story, but what made you embark on this journey to create this technology to protect kids online?
Sure. I love telling this story because it really is everything that when you get a mission and a purpose, you don't even see it coming, right? And then suddenly it's thrust upon you and everything changes. So I have two daughters that I absolutely love. And, I'm a tech dad. My background is big tech. I was a consultant for Fortune 500 companies. I did a lot of really high profile customer migrations, things like that, I understand tech. And I wanted my children to be able to walk into this in a way that was protected, because I know what's behind the scenes, right? I know what is the inherent danger. And my wife is incredibly, we battled for such a long time. When's the right time to give them? When's this? How do we get ahead of the curve, right? And this is something that they're going to have to deal with. When is the right time to introduce this?
Yeah, of course.
And I leaned on the side of wanting to give them tech sooner. And I've learned, right, that just because I think it's cool doesn't mean it's really cool for them, right? And that's the naivety of parents, right? Or at least of this parent, right? Because there's no manual, right? You just kind of, here we are, and now we have COVID, and we have all these different things that happen, and your children's worlds are shaped by social environments and online gaming environments. And so my little ones, gosh, it's been a long time, Nikki. I've been at this for a while, and they were, she was 7, and my other one was 9, and they wanted to play Minecraft. And it was my youngest daughter, her name is Adeline. Addie was so excited. They got their Windows PC machines, and Eden's in one room and Addie's in the other room. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to go through the process of setting up a Minecraft server, right? Shouldn't be hard for me, because here I am, I can put this little server up and whatever. But in order for them to connect, I had to open it to the internet, right? And so my wife, Sarah, was like, no, that's not going to happen, right?
That would be me.
And, well, I understand. I mean, and a man's view of this is that I can protect, right? A woman's view, at least what I understand, woman's view is like, why should you have to protect anything? Let's just put them in a bubble, right? And never let anything come and get them.
Yeah,
And
there's got to be a
so,
middle ground, right?
exactly,
Right.
exactly. So we came to this middle ground, and Sarah was folding clothes or doing some whatever she was doing, but she had her eye on Addie because we opened this up, and you have to have the IP address in order to access these servers that you host.
Mm-hmm.
But they're open to the internet, so anybody going through can try a whole bunch of different IP addresses and see what happens, and maybe they'll get lucky.
Oh,
Right?
okay.
It's very crazy, and this is years ago, right? So,
Yeah. Huh.
and if you're familiar with Minecraft is a very blocky,
Mm-hmm.
the whole idea of the game is great. You just go in and build things together and
Mm-hmm.
have fun, but then you add the internet in,
And
right?
you can't play offline, or because they wanted to play in the same
Server,
server but
yes,
different rooms. And there's no way
yes,
for them to sit next to each other and play together on one
sure.
server.
I'm sure you can do local area networks. You can do
Okay.
those types of things. Possibly it was more of a challenge for me. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
build this server. I'm going to do all this, and I'm going to make it
Mm-hmm.
so it's great. And
Yeah.
that's kind of
Yeah.
my thing. I like to create, right?
Right. Right. Totally.
They started playing together, and I go back into my office and I'm working, and Sarah hears the ding of the message, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that some other avatar has now joined the server and is
Mm-hmm.
engaging my youngest in a private chat.
Okay.
And so they start talking. And one thing I can tell all your parents that that you encourage them to do is educate your children.
Mm-hmm.
Educate them not to give out personal information. Make fake profiles. If they're going to game, there's no reason that their picture should be anywhere.
Whew.
You know,
Yeah.
all of there's no reason. And keep them in the right age box,
Yeah.
right? Because nowadays it really is, it matters a lot.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I didn't think that anybody would get into this thing, but
Yeah.
Sarah, my wife, called me and she's like, honey, somebody's talking to Addie, right? And Addie comes out and she's like, Daddy, somebody's trying to get my personal information.
Whoa.
And that's a smart 7-year-old, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because these predators are smart. Like they know how to get the kids to give up that information.
Yeah. So I went in with my machine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I started to look at the conversation. He said he was from Utah. His name was Noah. And
Mm-hmm.
he said, I'm a boy. And it's like, okay, there's just some extra things that why would you be putting in there? But the conversation had gotten to the point with her and him where he was grooming her, right? He was asking, what does she like to do? And then he'd throw in a little bit of conversation like fun talk and let's build this and do that. And what do you like to swing? What parks are in your area? Oh, I know that one. Yeah.
Whoa.
And so then I take over and I pretend I'm her and I'm baiting this guy now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no way my daughter's having any more conversation with this person.
Mm-hmm.
The good thing about having your own server is that you can see what that's pinging from.
Okay. Okay.
Right. And so I did a IP search on it and it was Sierra Leone.
Wow.
Yeah. So this was just some person in Sierra Leone. So I looked up the avatar's username, right? And I checked there were parental forums for Minecraft.
Mm-hmm.
And this username had been flagged several times for different grooming behaviors. So I got that. I got all the stuff with like the IP address, the location, everything. And I came back and I said, by the way, I'm her dad. I'm an IT security expert. I know where you're at. I'm reporting you in Interpol, all of these things. And boom, that person was gone.
Gone. Right. Wow.
Gone.
And you guys happened to hear it. You caught it. You were able to engage and report. But what have you learned about how much that is happening and maybe going under the radar?
Yeah. Well, what is reported is the FBI reports 500,000 predators online every day. When we were talking, remember David Everitt, the last speaker? I had a private conversation.
I interviewed him the other day.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that guy.
Yeah, I know.
So his comments were tens of millions, right? Were on. And that really is the true number, right? And so when you think about it, who gets caught, who doesn't, right? And then to meet people over the years in this fight, right? And then you meet the victims and then you meet the families and then you see the sorrow and you see the forever damage that being a victim of this, type of grooming or bullying or hate speech or all the different things that we're looking for, how does that shape your child?
And Minecraft, what have you learned about? So in this example, Minecraft was not doing anything to stop this interaction from happening. I mean, Minecraft knows where people's location is. They can track through AI technology, grooming behavior, but there was no alert given from Minecraft, right?
No alert was given from Minecraft. So the big challenge with us right now, and is how do we differentiate between what is a gaming conversation and an actual threat?
Right.
Right. And so we worked with Thorn for a while, and we put together a grooming model with them, and we've grown it since then. I actually co-office, and the other office is Dr. Lisa Stroman. And so Dr. Lisa and I have been working on these threat models together to where we can really identify patterns. What makes up grooming? And that's what we put our stake in the ground with this company. We are going to stop predation. We are going to prevent, and we're going to put the power into the hands of the parents. Right? That's step one. Step two is, what if the parent's the offender? Right? We have to look at that. Step three, we have a roadmap to how we can really have a preventative tool that we can first go for having that parental unit really shored up. Second, how can this next generation, which is so empowered, right? This next generation wants to help each other so badly.
Yeah.
How do we help them help their friends?
Yeah.
So that's where we're taking this, is how do we now take this into another thing? So to your question on Minecraft, right? Minecraft at the time was still growing, right?
Yeah.
It was still in its different phase of development, and they weren't necessarily as focused on this. I haven't really seen any movement from Microsoft on any of this until very recently, when they said, oh, now we see that there's a problem with bullying, so we're going to put things inside. Who do they report that to? How do they help a child through that? Right? These are the gaps. So a software, something else that's really going to be helping a parent address these things, I think is so important.
Okay, and the common games that a lot of my kids' friends are playing are Minecraft, Roblox, Fortnite. So would you say across the board that all of these parental controls on these platforms, there are gaps? And would you say we can rely on them fully to protect our kids from predation?
No, I would say absolutely not. We cannot. So if you look at let's take, for example, Roblox, and you go into type in X. Don't ever let your child type in XYZ into the actual search bar, because in there, these rooms are 100% about your child and somebody else hooking up and emoting sex acts in the public bathrooms.
Oh, okay. In a game that's supposed to be for 7-year-olds, isn't Roblox?
Well, so they have an age filter on this at 12 years old. So 12 years old, apparently that's okay, right?
Oh my gosh.
I can share some things with you, Nikki, the conversations that we've seen in there are obviously not a child to another child. This is an adult talking to a child.
Okay. So a lot of times I see families say, or families tell me, my kid loves the gaming. I want them to be able to play games, and they have cousins in another state. So they play online in a room together, or they play together. Can we guarantee that strangers won't find their way into those rooms or those groups?
Well, I think we circle back to the point of the algorithms that we were talking about earlier, where who's to say friends of friends, and now we have all these friends that now have access, and do their friends have access, and who as a parent understands how to set those limitations, right? Is it clearly described? Is it clearly understood that, and is your child going to want to, so I don't know about everybody else's children, but my children move so fast on devices. It is just like, blah, 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 they're done, right? And if I don't take that device and set it up for them, right, then I'll lose the privacy that's important, right? The parental control's great. Is there a manual on a optimum parental control setting? It's pretty tough to really isolate that. And who's to say that that's going to really stop the way? What I've seen is that predators change the way they talk on a dynamic basis. So how do we learn? How do we stay ahead of that? This is where in GameSafe, what we do is we flag, right? We have an opportunity for a parent to review. And if we miss something, say we have a new word, or we have the way that people are tying in entire sentences into one big word, right? How do you have AI that's smart enough to really get into there and then break that apart. This is a continual training of isolated AI models that are not being influenced by outside sources. That's what we've committed to with GameSafe, is we don't go after the Metas or any of their AI models to do any of this. We've built our own, right? And we train.
Amazing. I know that predation is big on these platforms. Bloomberg recently published an article that I think titled Roblox's pedophile problem. What are some of the other risks that you are trying to prevent or
self-harm, bullying? As I was speaking of earlier, COVID had changed the game on your children being, all of their social circle is inside the internet nowadays, right? So cat's out of the bag. The box has been released, right? And now we have to understand in all of these different platforms, right? It's going to be everywhere. Right. So how do we stay ahead of that curve? Right. How do we stay ahead? And that's the beauty of what I put together was something that looks at the device. Right. I don't care if Microsoft doesn't want me to be involved. I'm going to do it anyways because I didn't ask them for permission. They violated my trust. Right. So why am I going to go back to them and say, great, will you be the parent to my kids? Right. Yeah. Great. Yeah. You've done such a great job. Right.
Right. So for families, a lot of families, the cat is out of the bag. The kids are already playing. And, there is something to be said for taking a step back. Things can always be pulled back. But what would you recommend for families whose cat's not out of the bag? For example, my kids are all under 9 and we don't play games. I'm open to it someday as a group, but I'm not into like the individual gaming. I don't know that that's something that every kid has to do. We don't do individual devices yet, or social media, obviously they're little, but what would you advise families who want to keep their kids safe and have not entered into the world of digital devices for their kids yet?
I like the idea. If I were to do it all over again, I would have never, like Steve Jobs, he never gave his kids iPads.
I know.
Right? Okay, well, let's learn from the guy who created it, right? So I would have never given my kids iPads at 7. Right. And that's what I did, thinking, I can help them grow into geniuses. Right. They're going to do that anyways. Right.
Yeah.
So really be careful about when you introduce a device, because you're now like opening the entire world that you cannot moderate. Right. All of the influences, you're abdicating your parenthood. Right. Because something flashy is taking their attention. Addictive gaming. Oh my gosh, it is. So I'm astonished when I talk to Dr. Lisa about the physiological effects on my child's brain and what I've done to them unknowingly, right, by giving them a device early. So as a new parent, right, to your question, get a kid-safe device at first, right? I mean, if they need a device, I mean, there's great companies that do this, right? GameSafe isn't one of those. We're the software. Right, we're gonna go prevent for everybody else whose kids already have iPhones and Androids. Come get our software, right? But if you're brand new, be careful, right? Try Gab or Bark or something like that gives you a phone that is absolutely more restrictive.
Yeah, and I have a lot of episodes about and videos about comparing Bark phone, for example, to an iPhone. iPhones were built for adults. They're extremely hard to lock down. The parental controls do not do a good enough job. I just did a video this morning on how all these social media apps are actually available to 12-year-olds in Apple's App Store when you're supposed to be 13 to be able to download it, but then they can just lie about their age. So you as a parent can be like, I don't want my kids to access social media till they're 13, but that doesn't matter. They can still download it at 12. But anyway, I totally agree. I highly recommend a first phone or watch or something that is only talk or text. And then when you're ready to really become the expert in the platforms that you're giving them and the devices that you're giving them and continually learn and have that energy to stay on top of it, to protect them, like that's when you can start to add things. But for me, that sounds real overwhelming. I wanted to touch on quickly the parental controls. Now, you mentioned they're kind of hard to figure out. Would you assume that's by design because they actually get more engagement from children when there are no parental controls on?
Yeah, I can shame all of these companies because they deserve to be shamed, right? But I know that their number one focus is adoption, right? User adoption, and that's any software company's number one focus. So do they need to put all that extra time, or are they trying to put out a fire after it's already burning by putting parental controls in? Right. That's the approach that I've seen with a lot of these other companies, is that, oh, now there's a problem, so let's put it on the parents.
Yeah.
Right. And let's have a little extra liability clause in our terms and conditions, right? That frees us from the lawsuit that's pending. Right. So for parental controls, they're late and they're hard to use. Right. So to your question, let's have a device that is talk or text. Second, when you feel like managing, I'd suggest to find a program like a gamesafe, like whatever, that you can trust. Right. Yeah. If you can trust that, and it's simple and easy to use, and here you go. Now you can see, here's a threat. I don't have to worry about parental controls because I'm seeing what my child sees. Right. I don't have to go set up all those goofy things.
Yeah. And I do feel good about delaying too, because every year a new product comes out, or a new software like you were offering, that's going to enhance our ability to protect our children. What does GameSafe look like? Is it something I download onto the gaming device, or like how do I get access to it?
Well, GameSafe's real simple, right? It is, you can go to the App Store, or you can go to the Android, Google Store there's two parts to it. Yeah. So we have a parental application, we have a child application. Right now, GameSafe for the children, for monitoring children, works on Windows PC, on Android devices, and on iOS devices, right? And so you will download from any one of those stores the parental app. You'll then get a QR code, and you'll link what your child's device is. It will download the other part that sits in your child's phone. Then you log in with your credentials, and you select which child that is, and you're done. Right? It's that simple. And so now you'll be able to get in a simple dashboard where you will get, like on your watch, you'll get wherever, the notification when we're noticing a threat.
Right. Okay. We get notifications, so we can address it with them.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. And then there's steps on how to report, how to, freeze the account. There's all of the things in our resource center that will help you mitigate a problem if it's becoming crazy, right? You want to just shut this down and say, why is Discord allowing this picture to be sent to my daughter, right? I'm going to report it. I'm going to freeze this, block this user. I'm going to do this, right? That is the part where parents need to understand that, and they just need to touch a button. You go here, boom.
It just feels like this should come standard on all gaming platforms, like from the platform,
Yes. Right now, we're not in PlayStations or Xboxes. I hope to be there by the end of the year.
Okay.
And then I'm also going into the scariest part that I think is out there, which is AR and VR, right? I mean, that is a terrifying world for me to address as far as my child getting immersed in this area. I don't know if you've ever put one of those on. It is like, it changes your reality. And there's a different biochemical scenario that's happening. And you got these brains that are forming, right? These personalities so I'm going after that too. It's a big, heavy, that's what my wife told me, right? She said, when we saw what happened, she says, okay, you got to fix this, build something, right? And we went all in, man. I quit my job. I said, enough. We sold all of our wealth. We did everything. We got all the way down to state aid, right?
Wow,
just to make this work, right? We're going to go David. And do this. Yeah.
God, it really takes passionate parents. And, not that I'm doing anything on the level that you are, but it really was, at one day I was like, oh my God, I have to do something about this. And I'm going to, close down my business that's basically funding our lifestyle, and just like do something for no money, because this is where people really need help. And this is where we need to educate and advocate for kids, and you having that personal experience with your girls. And that makes me sad, because there's millions of girls and kids like your daughters who didn't have someone listening, or didn't have someone to create something that can help keep them safe. And so with the VR stuff, that scares the hell out of me. I don't like that. I'm a late adopter, though. I don't even like to use ChatGPT. It all scares me. But with the VR, would you say in today's society, is it safe for kids to use that?
I am very cautious about children using VR headsets. the studies are still out, right? I mean,
Right.
I just got to go sit with the doctor next door and she'll tell you what exactly happens in your child's brain when they are so immersed in this. Training your children how to use tech is before they get it. That's the key, right? And so if you're not training and you don't have a blueprint of how, one of the things Dr. Lisa talks about too is a contract, right? Here's a cell phone contract, right? That I pay for, but here's the one for you to use it.
Yeah.
Right. And here's what we're going to agree to as here's your terms and conditions for having this device. All of these different kinds of, now you're prepared as a parent, right? You've done your work, right? And now you know exactly what to do. I would not turn a 12-year-old loose on a VR headset.
Right. Well, you talk about training and contracts, and I agree. I totally agree. And we do things like that for tools like cars and different things. But when we're talking about platforms that are built to be addictive to our children, that prioritize harmful content in their feeds, that connect them with drug dealers and predators, how can you prepare a kid for that? And should we even be allowing that to happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think you have to have tools, right? That's the only way you can let a child get on these devices, right? Because if the Wild West is out there, I mean, they could touch the wrong button and show their location, right? I mean, that's really
being
how
encouraged to share their location.
Yes,
Snapchat especially, and Instagram's rolling that out now too, geolocating and maps. And we all have to make that decision on and within our own families, right? Do the pros of social media outweigh the cons, and can we trust in some kind of monitoring system that is going to make us sleep at night, help us sleep at night to know that our kids are protected and that we're going to get an alert. And monitoring companies like Bark for the phones and the Bark phone, and then GameSafe for gaming, that's helpful for sure. I am just really grateful that we have options like that, because I know that a lot of families in previous years trusted the platforms to keep the kids safe. And from what I'm learning from social media to gaming, all of it, they're not keeping our kids safe. They're not required to. They're not liable to. There's a lot of solutions to that, including technology, but also legislation. And we learned a lot about the Kids Online Safety Act and different legislation at the event that we were at recently. So you feel like gaming with a product like GameSafe is sort of required to keep your kids safe on gaming.
Absolutely. And if we look at the differences between age groups for gaming to social media, right there, and how vulnerable your children are in gaming, because it starts earlier in gaming. Parents don't realize that Roblox is 40 million experiences, right? They think it's one game. No, there's 40 different worlds for your children to go play on, right? 40 million. Right? And this is a 7-year-old that, a parent will be like, I need some downtime. And I have total sympathy for those parents because, how are you supposed to make it? The economy is hard. All of these different things, I mean, and you need a break. Here, go ahead. This looks like a fun game, right? I've done the same thing, right? Oh my gosh, I've been working for 16 hours. Please just give me a minute. You can play that for an hour, right? That kind of a thing. I just handed them a loaded gun, basically. Right. And I have that guilt in my heart. Right. And I recognize it. I feel for parents out there. I understand it. Right. And that's why we built something like this. So another thing I wanted your audience to really understand is that my kids grew with GameSafe. Yeah. And so did the features. Right. Cool. I wanted to see how, in the beginning, I wanted to know every single thing that happened. I would helicopter parent those kids. And then my children started to be able to make good decisions. Right. And then they got different influences in their life, different friends or this, that, and the other. And so this is just the ebb and flow of life and growing. Right. How do they handle it? So I put something in there called their sensitivity sliders. Right. And so per device now, I can sit there and I can dial back, let's say, vulgarity. My 17-year-old, she can handle vulgarity. I don't need to be notified all the time when somebody says, I just peg that thing all the way down. Yeah. Right. So my eldest has skeletal dysplasia. Right. And so it's dwarfism. And so she gets bullied. right? And part of that bullying really affects her self-image. It affects her heart, how she gets through everything.
Yeah.
And so I've got that one cranked up a little bit, and the mental health, I got it cranked up a little bit. So I can really know when something's happening, and then just text her right then. Hey, honey, I see what's happening. How you feeling about this?
Yeah.
And it's helped me as a dad become much more present with the emotional needs of my daughters.
Yeah. Wow, that is very cool, because every kid is so different. Like my son, if he starts hearing curse words, he's going to say them all everywhere. But my daughter knows. My daughter knows. Definitely don't need to be saying that in public. And again, it's just triggering that conversation, that supportive conversation, and helping parents do their job. Nothing can do that job for us. When it comes to proactively preparing your kids for gaming, what are the kind of the highlights on what conversations need to be had before your kids embark on gaming?
Don't give personal identifying information, number one. Number two, don't tell people, and that's part of personal identifying information. Don't tell people anything about where you are, where you live, how old you are, all of these different things. But when you feel, like with my kids, I call it their buzzer, right? If you feel somebody's asking you these interesting things that make you uncomfortable, you need to have that open communication. Like with my kids, you can come and tell me anything you want.
Right.
You can come and, this person said this to you, and I'm not going to react to that. I want to know, I want to help you through it. The personal identifying information is everything, because the moment anybody asks for that, it's a stranger, you're in a bad place.
And I like the thought about you're their safe space. So even your kid might have said something wrong, and they need to know that they can come to you, and you're not going to yell or get angry. You're going to take a deep breath and be on their side and support them. Because then if you don't, they're not going to come to you anymore.
Oh, Nikki, you have to. So one of the things I'm super excited about, when my daughters my youngest was 11, right? And I had gamesafe all cranked up, and I was watching everything, and one of their friends had this change in her parenting situation, right? Like a divorce or something like that.
Yeah.
And she reacted to the whole thing, right? And she spiraled, right? And she asked my 11-year-old to go out of her window and come over for a threesome.
And at 11 years old?
At 11 years old, right? And I flipped out, right? I flipped out.
Shoot.
So what I'm excited about isn't that. What I'm excited about is that we're going to have what's called Ask Lisa, right? And what I could have used in that moment was a Dr. Lisa popping up and saying, hey, don't go throw the cell phone down the street, right? Here's some suggestive ways to go and handle this. That should be ready at least before Christmas, right? Okay, to where now a little meme will pop up, and there will be Dr. Lisa's 20 years of work that will help guide a parent through this.
Thank you, Dr. Lisa, because what the hell do you say to that? I don't know.
I would pay all day for that alone as a parent. It's just like, well, how do I react to this? How do I respond, right?
Yeah, shoot. Yeah, I mean, I'm with my kids being all under 9. I think there's only been 1 or 2 things that I was really tripped up on so far, but I just know these things are coming, and you go with your gut, but there's definitely important things that you need to get across in these really vital conversations to the kids, and they're going to get exposed to things like that on these devices.
So here's a great suggestion is that if you're like walking your child into a device, right, make it exciting. Right here, we're going to team up together with you on this, right? We're going to put this on there, and this isn't right. What we're trying to do is we're trying to catch bad guys, right? Or different things like that. Make it a team effort to where it's not, the friction isn't there. Oh, dad's spying on me, right? My kids don't. They might have thought that a few times, right? But it's definitely something where now we're a team. Right? If you can team up with your kids to make the internet safer, not just for your family, but for their friends. Yeah. We've helped the neighbor, who was going through mental health and was dealing with some self-harm. All of these things were exposed to us to now where we can go and be compassionate and have a community around it.
Yeah. I love the team aspect that we're going to catch bad guys, but we're also going to look out and make sure it's safe. Look out for you.
Exactly.
And it's my device as the parent, but you get to use it and we're going to explore it together. I'm watching because I want to keep you safe and let's work together on that. That kind of approach rather than years past when everyone thought it was safe and was like, happy Christmas. Here's your new phone. Like, right. Go have at it.
Good luck. Right. Take the car while you're at it. You're 11, whatever.
Right. Oh my God. I hope that, maybe one day there'll be like a test to be able to use a phone or to be able to access social media. Wouldn't that be great? Yeah. And it wouldn't be allowed to be used in your bedroom alone where all the bad stuff happens. So, this has been so interesting and so helpful. I'm incredibly grateful, David, for you and your technology. Can you walk listeners through how they can learn more about GameSafe and connect with your team?
Sure. Yeah, anybody can go to gamesafe.ai. Recognize that we are coming out of the gate. We're offering things like right now, and it's only going to get better and better and better and better and better. Yeah. We have a great brand ambassador who is going to be my partner on this. He's coming on, and I'm really excited, but I'm not going to tell you yet.
Okay, I might know, but I won't.
Yeah, you might know, but I'm being very mindful of a relationship that's helping me grow this into something that can be such an impact. So you can look in the App Store as a parent, look up GameSafe. Our best is Android as well as Windows PC. I'm going to be doing another release for iOS real quick here.
Okay.
Within the next 3 weeks, that will significantly improve that. And then within the next month and a half, I'm going to have iOS seamless.
Amazing.
It's a real challenge to do that one.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll keep listeners updated as we roll out, but please go to gamesafe.ai. On behalf of parents, we are grateful for the education that you're providing and the help with protecting our kids and allowing them to have fun while gaming and protecting them from the bad stuff. So, David, thank you again for being here.
Well, thanks for having me. It's great seeing you again.
You too.